Images that are super yellow or super blue, when they're meant to be true colors, are the worst. It just doesn't look right, and everybody knows it, especially if you're shooting for clients. And that's one of the best things about Adobe Lightroom, is there's such great ways to fix it right in Lightroom, super quick. That's what we're going to do now. In this lesson, you'll learn how to get perfect white balance, and I'll even show you a tool that you can buy that'll let you get it every time without having to guess. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is show you exactly how to select a white balance. So in this image, I've adjusted it over here for shade, as if you had set that white balance in your camera to shade. You can of course also click here and pick any number of these: as shot, auto, daylight, cloudy, shade, tungsten, and all that's happening is it's adjusting the temp and the tint. So we'll go back to cloudy here perhaps. So cloudy is selected 6500 and plus 10. Now you may have selected that in your camera, in which case you could go to as shot and that's how it would look also. But for this demonstration, we're going to go back to cloudy. Alright, so here's the image that you've got, and as you can see, it's a number of white painted wood slats where the sun is coming through and an umbrella leaning against the side. Well, if you hit the W key, we're going to come up with this great eyedropper. And that eyedropper simply lets you mouse over any part of the image that should be a neutral color, and if you click it, you see that we went to custom now, and this temp and tint changed. What you want to do is get the right temp and tint for your picture. If you've got someone in there and you're trying to get accurate rendition for skin tones, or maybe you're shooting a landscape or a portrait, and you want to just make sure that you've got the details correct, maybe it's inside of a building and you want a white room to be perfectly white. There's any number of good reasons to adjust your white balance. So we're in the white balance function with our eyedropper selected. I just want to point out two things real quick. The first is that if I click the show loop, you'll see this pick a target neutral icon and dialog box just popped up right in the middle of the screen. And that's really helpful because it's showing me what I'm using to select. Right? I don't have to guess at what Lightroom is sampling. It's showing me the pixels that it's actually sampling to come up with the white balance for a neutral color. I almost always use it, and I'd recommend you use it as well so that you're just more in control of your white balance. The next thing that you see here is auto dismiss. So if I click auto dismiss, what will happen is when I select my white balance point and I sample it by clicking, you see that the loop went away. That means that I can go back to zooming in and zooming out with a click of a button, or anything else that I'd like to do next. If I hit W again, I can uncheck auto dismiss, and now when I select a white balance, I keep getting to pick, continuing to go around the image and getting the white balance that I think is best. I actually don't use this feature. I tend to click auto dismiss for the reasons that I'll show you in a moment. I really only pick one white balance point. But if you're kind of searching around an image, it's nice to have auto dismiss off so you don't have to keep clicking on the W button. The other thing I want to point out is that in the upper left here where the navigator is, which again we can hide and display by clicking on the triangle, you'll see a preview just by scrolling over different parts of the image of what it would look like if you clicked it. Again, very helpful feature to watch as you try to figure out the white balance for your image. So let's go ahead and pick white balance, shall we? You're going to want a neutral color, and so I'll go to a spot that I think is a nice neutral gray, which should be pretty easy with the way this image is lined up. I'll go ahead and click it, and you'll see that it made some subtle adjustments over here to the temp and the tint. This looks pretty good to me, but remember I can make creative adjustments here as well. Now temp allows me to make some great adjustments that can be creative. For example, in this particular image, I might slide it way to the left, getting a super blue and cool image if that's artistically what I wanted to have happen. Maybe what I want to do is make it really warm, as if the sun was right outside and setting so beautifully, casting golden light everywhere. So the temp adjustment slider here by clicking and dragging, or of course you can click over here and scroll up and down while you've clicked on that number to make adjustments as well, can be used for corrective or can be used for creative adjustments. But if I go down to tint and I click and drag to the right, I don't know that I would do that to get that super magenta color to an image creatively, or green to be honest. Both kind of look sort of creepy. And so I'd probably just go back, select a good white balance, and then adjust the temp. Because tint is really for corrective, not so much for kind of creative adjustments to your images, in my opinion. But with that said, let's move on to another image, and it's actually almost the same image. What I did is I put a color checker passport. It's a device you can purchase from X-Rite. No affiliation with them, but they make the best, in my opinion, tools for getting accurate color. So you can see here that if let me zoom in so you can see a bit better perhaps. So if I zoom in here on the top row, these two blocks that have notches in them are actually for selecting a white balance. So if I just click on that, click, and let's go to auto dismiss, and this is why I usually turn auto dismiss on. I click that, I auto dismiss it, and you can see that now it's made the adjustments here to get me perfectly true white balance, temp and tint. So every image I take and I use there is going to give me perfect color. Now you can do a gray card as well. They're affordable and fantastic tools. They're really made for this kind of adjustment. Now let's go ahead and assume that we don't have one of those tools though. Here's the next image that we've got, and it's an image of a rock in kind of a gravel garden. So we can click W, and then we can go over into our image and scroll around, taking a look at the preview in the navigator, and this looks nice to me, so I'll go ahead and click it, and you can see that we have an image that to me looks pretty true. Now I can click W again, and maybe this time I want to, maybe make a creative adjustment and make it warmer. Right? And so I've got a good white balance, meaning my tint is good, and now I'm just going to pull and make it warmer. Or if I wanted to, I could come in and select a different spot here. And again, it's cool it down a lot. Select W over here. And you can see that I'll turn auto dismiss off when I'm in this kind of environment, so that I can continue if I wanted to, just to click around the image, right? Selecting different spots and seeing in my main window how it looks. Let's go ahead and stick with that. Now to undo these, you can go back up and simply select as shot. And that's how you can use white balance, color cards, and different spots in your image to see your loop and to make great selections so you get perfect color. I hope that helps, and stick around for the next lesson because it's just as useful.